You're driving home from the range. Your legally owned firearm is secured in your vehicle. Then you see it. Red and blue lights in the mirror. And in your head, you're thinking, I know the rules. But here's the problem. 5 recent court decisions just changed the playing field. And what worked last year could get you arrested today. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I've watched dozens of responsible gun owners get charged with crimes they didn't even know existed. In the next 12 minutes, I'm breaking down the 5 things gun owners can no longer do during traffic stops. I'm also covering the exact penalties you're facing and the specific words that keep you safe and legal. Let's jump in. Number 1, silence is not compliance in duty to inform states. You can no longer assume silence equals compliance in duty to inform states. The legal landscape for firearm disclosure during traffic stops fundamentally changed in 2024 and 2025. Picture this scenario. You're pulled over in Michigan. You have a valid concealed pistol license. Your firearm is in the center console. The officer approaches. You hand over your license, registration, and insurance. You figure the officer can see your CPL when they run your information, so you don't say anything. 40 seconds pass. Then you mention it. Too late. You just violated Michigan law. In a real Michigan case, a driver handed his CPL to the officer without verbally disclosing his firearm. The dashboard camera showed a 40-second delay before verbal disclosure. The court ruled that simply handing over the CPL was not adequate disclosure. First offense in Michigan, $500 fine, and a 6-month CPL suspension. Second offense, $1,000 fine, and CPL revocation. In states like Alaska, Arkansas, Louisiana, Michigan, Nebraska, North Carolina, and Texas, you must immediately disclose. Immediately means the moment the officer reaches your window. Disclosure must be verbal and explicit. Here's the wrong way. The officer walks up. You say, "Hey, officer, what's the problem?" Officer says, "License and registration." You hand them over. 20 seconds pass. You say, "No, sir, but I should mention I have my concealed carry permit." That delay just cost you $500 and 6 months without your permit. Here's the correct approach. The officer walks up. Before he speaks, you say clearly and calmly, "Officer, I have a valid concealed carry permit. I am currently armed. My firearm is in the center console. My permit and license are in my wallet on the dashboard. How would you like me to proceed?" Then you stop talking. Hands on the steering wheel. No movement. Why does this work? First, you disclosed immediately. Second, you told the officer exactly where the firearm is located. Third, you gave the officer control by asking how to proceed. The bottom line, duty to inform states now enforce immediate verbal disclosure with serious penalties. You must speak the words out loud the moment the officer reaches your window. Number 2, officer safety ends the debate. You can no longer rely on officer discretion once safety concerns are raised. This change comes from an expansion of the Pennsylvania versus Mims ruling. The moment an officer says they have a safety concern, your options disappear. Picture this. You disclose your firearm properly. The officer asks you to step out of the vehicle. You ask, "Officer, are you asking me or ordering me to step out?" He says, "I'm ordering you out for officer safety. I need to secure the weapon." At this point, most gun owners make a critical mistake. They start explaining, "Stop." The moment the officer invokes officer safety and gives an order, the conversation is over. Here's the dialogue that gets people arrested. Officer, step out of the vehicle. I need to secure your weapon for officer safety. Driver, why? I told you where it is. I'm not reaching for it. I have a permit. Officer, sir, step out now or you'll be charged with obstruction. Driver, this is ridiculous. I know my rights. And just like that, you're in handcuffs. Not because you had an illegal gun, because you argued about officer safety after being given a lawful order. So what do you do instead? When the officer says, "Step out for officer safety," here are your exact words. "For the record, I am complying under protest and my hands will stay visible." That's it. Then you slowly open the door, keeping your hands where the officer can see them. You follow every instruction. Why does this protect you? You stated you're complying under protest. On video, it's clear you didn't want to exit voluntarily. This protects you later if the order was improper. The bottom line, officer safety concerns eliminate your choices. When ordered out after safety is invoked, you comply immediately and document your protest verbally. Fighting on the roadside gets you arrested. Fighting in court with a lawyer gets you justice. Number 3, digital permit linking can trap you. You can no longer assume your smartphone isn't linked to your permit status. Multiple states now link concealed carry permits directly to vehicle registration and driver's license databases. When an officer runs your plate or your license, your permit status pops up automatically. Sounds convenient, right? It's actually a trap, because now if you don't disclose in a duty to inform state, the officer already knows you're lying by omission. Picture this. You're in Arkansas. Your permit is digitally linked. Officer pulls you over. You don't mention your firearm because you're nervous and forgot. The officer runs your license. The computer shows active concealed carry license. The officer walks back. Sir, I see you have a carry permit. Are you armed right now? Now you're trapped. If you say yes, you violated duty to inform. If you say no and the gun is in the car, you just lied to a police officer. Arkansas penalties for first offense: up to 90 days in jail, up to $1,000 in fine, and permit suspension for 1 year. Before digital linking, you might get away with forgetting to disclose. After digital linking, the officer knows the moment they run your information, so forgetting equals intentional violation. How do you protect yourself? Immediate verbal disclosure before the officer even asks for your documents. Officer, before I hand you anything, I need to inform you I have a valid concealed carry permit and I am currently armed. My firearm is in the glove box. How would you like me to proceed? If you realize you forgot to disclose, immediately correct it. Officer, I need to add something. I have my concealed carry permit and a firearm in the vehicle. I should have mentioned that first. States with digital linking include Arkansas, Michigan, North Carolina, Ohio, Texas, and expanding. The bottom line: digital permit linking means officers know if you skip disclosure. In duty to inform states, forgetting is no longer an excuse. Number 4, within reach. Now includes the console and glove box. You can no longer assume your firearm location is legal just because it's not on your person. This comes from the fallout of United States versus Rahim and subsequent lower court rulings. For years, gun owners thought, as long as the gun wasn't in their hand or waistband, they were safe. Courts just rejected that assumption. Now, within reach means anywhere you could access it during the stop, even if it requires movement. Picture this scenario. You're pulled over in Colorado. Your firearm is in the center console, unloaded in a case. You disclose properly. The officer asks you to step out. While you're standing outside, the officer opens your center console and retrieves the firearm. The officer charges you with unlawful possession during a traffic stop. Why? Because Colorado courts ruled that center console counts as within reach, even if you're outside the vehicle when they discover it. Let me show you the state-by-state variation. In Texas, if you have a license to carry, your firearm can be in the glove compartment, center console, or under the seat, and it's legal. But if an officer feels threatened by the location during a stop, they can order you out and secure the weapon. In Michigan, if you're carrying without a CPL, the firearm must be unloaded, in a case, and in the trunk or not readily accessible. Center console doesn't qualify. The correct response when asked where your firearm is located: Officer, it is stored in the center console, unloaded in a locked case. I am happy to follow your instructions on how to proceed. If the firearm is loaded, you say, Officer, it is stored in the center console, loaded, separate from my reach. I have not accessed it and will not access it. How would you like me to proceed? The bottom line: where you store your firearm in your vehicle now determines your legal exposure during a stop. Know your state's storage laws. Disclose location clearly, and never argue about whether it's accessible. Number 5, voluntary disclosure can waive your rights. You can no longer treat voluntary disclosure as automatic protection. You think if you disclose your firearm voluntarily, even in states that don't require it, you're being responsible. Sometimes that's true, but recent cases show voluntary disclosure without understanding request versus order can waive your rights faster than refusing to answer. Picture this. You're in Idaho. No duty to inform. Officer pulls you over. You mention your firearm. Officer says, "Oh, you're armed. Where is it?" You say, in the glove box. Officer says, do you mind if I secure it for the stop? You say, sure, no problem. The officer opens your glove box, finds your gun, also finds an old pill bottle with painkillers. Now you're being charged with unlawful possession of a controlled substance. You voluntarily let the officer search. You waived your Fourth Amendment rights. Here's the exact dialogue that protects you. Officer, are you armed? You. I prefer not to answer questions about my property without understanding the basis for the stop. Officer, I'm just asking for my safety. You. I understand, officer. Am I being detained or am I free to leave? Officer, you're being detained for a traffic violation. You. I invoke my right to remain silent. I do not consent to any searches. The legal distinction is request versus order. When an officer asks, do you mind if I secure your weapon? That's a request. You can say no. When an officer says, I'm securing your weapon for officer safety. Step out and keep your hands visible. That's an order. You must comply. Here's how you clarify. Officer, can I take a look at your firearm? You. Officer, are you asking me or are you ordering me to allow you to inspect my firearm? Officer, I'm asking. I just want to make sure everything's safe. You. I appreciate your concern, officer. I do not consent to any searches. I'm happy to keep my hands visible and follow your instructions, but I don't consent to inspections of my property. The bottom line, voluntary disclosure doesn't protect you if you follow it with voluntary consent to search. If you disclose, never consent to inspections or searches. Clarify whether the officer is asking or ordering, and respond accordingly. The 5 things you can't do anymore. Let's recap what you absolutely must remember. Number 1, you can no longer assume silence equals compliance and duty to inform states. Verbal immediate disclosure is required. Number 2, you can no longer rely on officer discretion once safety concerns are raised. When ordered out for safety, comply and protest verbally. Number 3, you can no longer assume your smartphone isn't linked to your permit status. Digital linking means officers know your status. Number 4, you can no longer assume your firearm location is legal just because it's not on your person. Within reach now includes center consoles and glove boxes. And number 5, you can no longer treat voluntary disclosure as automatic protection. Disclosure without understanding request versus order can waive your Fourth Amendment rights instantly. 4 core phrases to memorize. And no matter what state you're in, remember the 4 core phrases that protect you. Am I free to leave? This clarifies whether you're being detained. I plead the 5th. This invokes your right to remain silent. I want a lawyer. This stops questioning immediately. And I do not consent to searches. This protects your Fourth Amendment rights. Memorize these. Practice saying them calmly and politely. If you found this video valuable, hit the like button. Subscribe, clears throat, to this channel for more legal strategies that protect gun owners. And share this with every responsibly armed American you know. If you're facing charges related to firearms and traffic stops, consult a criminal defense attorney immediately. This video is educational only. It's not legal advice for your specific situation. Stay safe, stay legal, and remember,